It is just past midnight, September 26, 1983. In a secret bunker south of Moscow, a man is sitting in a chair. The air is thick with cigarette smoke and the hum of cooling fans. His name is Stanislav Petrov. He is 44 years old, a lieutenant colonel in the Soviet Air Defense Forces. And in exactly 30 seconds, he will have to decide whether or not to destroy the human race. On his console, a single word is flashing in bright, blood-red letters: launch. The system, known as OKO, the eye, is screaming. It has detected a ballistic missile rising from a silo in the United States. It is heading straight for the Soviet Union. Protocol is absolute. Protocol is simple. If the system says launch, Petrov must pick up the telephone. He must call the Kremlin. He must tell the leadership that the Americans have started World War III. If he makes that call, the Soviet retaliation will be automatic. Thousands of nuclear warheads will be fired. Hundreds of millions of people will die within the hour. Civilization, as we know it, will cease to exist. Petrov stares at the screen. The siren is deafening. His heart is hammering against his ribs. He reaches for the phone. His hand hovers over the receiver. And then he does the one thing his training never prepared him for. He does nothing. To understand why this moment was so terrifying, we have to understand the year 1983. It was perhaps the most dangerous year in the history of humanity. Tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were at a breaking point. President Ronald Reagan had just called the USSR an evil empire. NATO was deploying new Pershing 2 missiles in Europe, weapons that could hit Moscow in less than 10 minutes. Just 3 weeks before Petrov sat in that chair, the Soviet military had shot down a civilian airliner, Korean Airlines Flight 007, killing 269 people. The Soviets were paranoid. They were convinced, absolutely convinced, that the Americans were planning a surprise nuclear attack. The KGB had launched Operation Ryan, a massive intelligence sweep designed to look for the first signs of war. The Soviet leader, Yuri Andropov, was a sick, anxious man, sitting by a briefcase with nuclear codes, waiting for a reason to turn the key. This was the world Stanislav Petrov lived in, a world on a hair trigger. Petrov was not a field soldier. He was an analyst, a mathematician. His job was to oversee the new early warning satellite network. The old systems relied on ground radar, which could only see missiles when they came over the horizon. That gave Moscow about 15 minutes to respond, but the new satellites could detect the heat signature of a missile launch instantly. They bought the Soviet Union an extra 10 to 15 minutes. In a nuclear war, that time is the difference between firing back or dying in your silo. Back in the bunker, the siren is still wailing, but now the screen changes. The system detects a second missile, then a third, a fourth, and a fifth. The room erupts into chaos. 200 officers and engineers are looking at Petrov. He is the decision maker. The highest reliability indicator on the panel is lit up. The computer is 100% sure this is not a drill. The protocol demands that he report this immediately. Every second he delays is a second wasted for the counter-strike, but Petrov freezes. His mathematician's brain finds a flaw in the nightmare. Why does he hesitate? Petrov asks himself a logical question. If the Americans are going to start World War III, why would they only send 5 missiles? The doctrine of mutually assured destruction is all or nothing. If you strike first, you have to destroy the enemy's ability to shoot back. You don't throw rocks, you throw the entire mountain. The Soviet Union would survive 5 hits, and their retaliation would turn America into a parking lot. It doesn't make sense. Petrov is trapped in a terrifying limbo. The satellite says yes. The radar says unknown. If he waits for the ground radar to confirm the attack, it will be too late to launch a counterstrike before the missiles hit Moscow. If he reports the attack now and he is wrong, he will be the man who started the apocalypse. The officers around him are screaming. They are soldiers. They are trained to follow orders. They are looking at him with terror, wondering why he isn't making the call. Petrov lifts the phone to the Kremlin. His voice is shaking, but his words are clear. False alarm, he says. He lies. He has no proof it is false. He is guessing. He is betting the lives of every human being on Earth on a hunch. And now the wait begins. For 20 minutes, Stanislav Petrov sits in the bunker. If he is wrong, the first nuclear warhead will detonate over the bunker in 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. The minute passes. The sirens stop. The ground radar remains clear. There are no missiles. The world does not end. Petrov collapses in his chair. He drinks half a liter of vodka straight from the bottle. He has just saved the world. So, what happened? How did a billion-dollar satellite system hallucinate a nuclear war? The investigation revealed a freak cosmic coincidence, a black swan event that no engineer had predicted. You might think Stanislav Petrov was hailed as a hero. You might think they gave him a medal, a parade, a statue. They did not. In the Soviet Union, admitting that your billion-ruble early warning system was defeated by clouds was an embarrassment. It humiliated the military leadership. They couldn't reward Petrov because rewarding him would mean admitting the system was broken. Instead, they interrogated him. They reprimanded him for improper filing of paperwork during the incident. He was quietly demoted. He suffered a nervous breakdown. He left the military and spent the rest of his life living on a tiny pension in a rundown apartment outside Moscow. For 10 years, nobody knew what he had done. The incident was a top-secret state secret until the collapse of the Soviet Union. Stanislav Petrov died in 2017. He died poor and mostly alone, but the legacy he left behind is terrifying. We build systems to keep us safe. We build algorithms, radars, and sensors to remove the fog of war. We try to automate our survival. We often think that the end of the world will come with a bang, a grand battle between good and evil. But the story of Stanislav Petrov teaches us something much scarier. The end of the world almost came from a reflection of sunlight on a cloud, and we were saved not by a grand gesture or a military victory. We were saved by a man who simply did nothing.